Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the session today on EBSCO Information Services Health Business Elite and also Health Policy Reference Center. These are available from your VHA National Desktop Library. And to explain further, I will let Nancy Clark, your Director, Library Network Office, Department of Veterans Affairs, say a few welcoming comments and a few comments about your library. Nancy?
Thank you, Elaine. I really appreciate it. And I apologize for I kind of lost track of time. But anyway, we're real pleased to finally add Health Business Elite and the business type journals to our collection in the National Core Collection of Online Resources. This joins a group of 7,000 online journals, 10,000 online books, and over 40 databases that are available to all VA staff, but this is the first time we've really added something for administrative people as opposed to the clinical staff. So I'm real pleased that we've been able to do that. Health Business Elite is available on the VHA National Desktop Library. This is an internet site with a very simple URL of www.va.gov/library. It, along with the other resources, are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just have to have access to a device connected to the Internet. Information to sign up for a remote access account so you can access this information from home or while on travel is available on the National Desktop Library. If you'll look at your screen on the left-hand column, there's a tab that says Remote Access. Click on that. There'll be a link to register for an account. You do have to be on the VA network when you register for an account. That will authenticate you as a VA employee or contractor or staff, student, resident that's rotating through. But it will validate that you are authorized to access these resources. If you have any trouble accessing the resources, I recommend you contacting your local library staff. And again, that's a link on the left-hand column of Find Your Library, and I'm sure they will be delighted to help you navigate this wealth of resources. So with that, Elaine, I'm going to turn it back over to you to learn more about our two new databases on management and administration.
Thank you, Nancy. Let me just share my desktop and go out to another screen. And I just have to get into the databases. So as was mentioned, my name is Ellen Westling. I'm from EBSCO Information Services. I'm also a medical librarian. Before joining EBSCO some 18 years ago, I worked in medical libraries in the Boston area. So I want to thank you very much for joining us and for your interest in our databases. So see, these are some of the EBSCO host databases you have, but today what we're looking at specifically is Health Business Elite and Health Policy Reference Center. And as Nancy mentioned, Health Business Elite, which is the database I'm going to look at first, really takes care of the administrative side of the hospital. I know so many times funds must be allocated for clinical care and research. This takes care of the other half of the house. Healthcare administrators, managers, questions about personnel management, facilities, marketing, hiring and retention of employees, computer technology, there's food service in here, a whole wealth of information. And great journal titles as well that you can search within or also have alerts set up for these journal titles. And you can see under this brief description, there's over 570 journals with HHN, Harvard Business Review, the entire file is here, health facilities management, health management technology, marketing, modern healthcare, and more. So I'm just going to click on the title right here where it says Health Business Elite to get into that database. Now, for those of you who are used to searching things like CINAHL and Medline, PsycInfo, this database is a collection of full-text titles. It is not indexed to the depth that we're used to in clinical medicine. These are business and management administration articles, so you don't have subheadings and all those kinds of things. You do have subject headings assigned, however, and you can explode subject headings. But I just wanted to show you the fields that you can search as well. You can search also within the full text, and I'll get into that more in a minute. That can be very useful for some types of searches, author, title, subject area terms or geographic areas, etc. And down here you have a few limiters, but they're pretty limited, as I said, limiters, your filters for your results. But what I can do right here, if I'm doing a search on a topic, I might be interested in learning more about hospitals and food. So again, I can just put in my hospital, and I'm going to truncate it using the asterisk just to get hospitals, hospitalization, all the different words, and just put in food to start to show you the kind of content that you're going to get within Health Business Elite. Now, your results sort by date newest. I would like to show you a shortcut. If you click here under relevance, relevance is an algorithm EBSCO uses to bring up more highly relevant results to the top. It takes into account the currency of the title, the date it was published. It also looks for the words that you search for, where they're part of the subject heading. That citation gets a higher weight, and also lengthier articles get a higher weight than just letters and things like that. So it's sort of a quick shortcut to bring up the most highly relevant results. You can also, of course, use the facets on the left-hand side to further refine date newest, and you always have that choice. But I just wanted to show you how that relevance works. So here we have some content regarding impact of food security, and I didn't know anything about food security, so it's very interesting looking at whether people have enough to eat, patients, as well as their caregivers that might be visiting within the hospital. So it starts to show you a Harvard Business Review, trustee. If I look at the publications over here, you can see the breadth of the publications that you're getting. Business News, Modern Healthcare, Food Service Director, Environmental Health, Forbes, FDA Consumer, a wide variety of content that's in here. Newsweek, Time, all those contents also are in here. So again, this is the kind of information that your managers and administrators would like to have. You do have full text. You can, of course, just open up this full text article, and you can use the tools on the right-hand side for distribution, print it, email it, including the full text. You can also have it cited according to a bibliographic style if someone was writing for publication or papers for school. I can also add it to my folder. I also can cite it here as well. And it does tell you to double check it against the standard. We try to make it as accurate as possible. I can also export it if I use a bibliographic management software. And this is a really handy link right here. This is known as a permalink, a persistent link to this article. This is a very easy method to use to send articles to others within your hospital setting. You just have to send the hyperlink when they click on it. As long as they're authenticated, they'll get right to this article. You don't clog up their mailboxes with lengthy articles, etc., and they can just very easily get to this content. So I just wanted to show you that as well. And I'm going to click back to my result list in the upper left corner where it says result list. Works much better than the back browser. And I also wanted to show you the other thing that you can do. This is a lot of references, but you can also share under the share link. This is a persistent link to this result list right here. It says use permalink. It's different from the permalink we just looked at. The permalink we just looked at was for a specific article. This is for the result list. So you could cut and paste this and say, here are some great articles on hospital and food, and it might be an easy way to distribute results. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And of course, what we can also do, whoops, let me just remove that, is we could modify these results. We have some 4,300 results using the column on the left-hand side to filter our results. I can click here on full text. I can also modify my results using my date slider. I can also do a retrospective study if I want. I could look at this also under source type, starts to show you the breadth of content in here. Not only do we have academic journals, but we also have trade publications and magazines where you're going to find a lot of business and administration management information, as well as some newspapers. So you can limit to just, if you just want to see what trade publications and magazines have about a topic, you could limit in that way. And then over here on the left-hand side, you can see what we've got, and I can just X those out to get back to my broader search. As I continue down my left-hand side as well, I could also further refine my results with a specific subject heading. If I choose more than one, it'll look for that subject heading or that one. So maybe I'm looking for hospital food service. I want to have that as one of my main focuses of my articles. You could see all the different ways I could also do it. I will also show you can also alphabetize those by clicking on name. And maybe that's just the only one, or maybe the healthcare industry. One of those two subject headings now have to be the main focus, and you can see those on the left-hand side. I've filtered my results once again by choices I've made to get more highly relevant results. I could also limit by publisher or by language. So again, you can see the wide variety of content: food service director, AHA news, hospitals and health networks, etc. Great content, and the kinds of things that will support your hospital administration and managers, all the other not clinical support in your hospital. So that was one search I wanted to pop out. And I also was looking at something to do with veterans and housing. So again, I'm just going to do a simple search. And again, I still have my results sorted by relevance. I can, of course, use my date newest as well. But again, to get those most relevant articles, I like to use relevance. So you can start to see, again, you have something called planning, Orange County Business Report, Journal of Housing and Community Development, a wide variety of content. And with all of our EBSCOhost databases, you can also add content to the folder. And I can add that to the folder. And I think I forgot to mention, I encourage questions, and I know you're all muted. So please scroll up to the top of your monitor, your screen, way up to the top, and you can click on the chat icon on the right-hand side and send me, Ellen Wessling, the host, a question, and I will respond to your question during the session. I do not identify who asked the question, so your anonymity is preserved, but I do encourage questions, so please send in those questions. Thank you. So once again, I could also come down here on my left-hand side, limit to full text. I can also generally, besides, that's pretty old right there, but I might say I just want the last 10 years. Whoops, not 10 years. There we go, 10 years, by typing in the date and hitting the return. And that will modify my results. Sometimes that's very helpful if you're looking for a specific, the last 2 years or such, and there's a long date range. Again, my source types, the subject headings, the content, etc. So a question just came in. Thank you for that question. Does the permalink work outside the VA computers without using Athens? No, it will not, because the permalink, we have to know that you're authorized to access the content. So thank you for that question. You could cut and paste it if you're using Athens and are signed in, but if you sent that permalink to someone else and just clicked on it, it's going to prompt you for a username and password. Thank you. Okay, back to new search. I just wanted to also show employee retention and hospitals. Again, oops, sorry. Whoops, except it didn't spell check for me. I do apologize. And I put them on separate lines, so we have the words employee retention and also the word hospital somewhere within the title, the abstract, or subject headings. So again, it starts to show you nursing economics is in here, There's also articles from outside the United States. This is an international database, nursing ethics, etc. Hospital Topics, Academy of Management Journal, etc. So I did want to show you also that there are subject headings, and right here you can see in the upper left corner there's a subject authority file. So again, if I was looking for employee retention and wanted to use it as a subject heading, you can see I can do alphabetically. I also like to look at relevancy sometimes just to make sure I find the best result. I can click on my term to view the details. There are some narrower terms here. If I wanted to include all those terms, I would click on and explode. If I just wanted employee retention, I don't care about employee retention plans with bankruptcy, and I'm not speaking about military retention, my military command. So I'm just going to type in employee retention. And this then will give you all the results that have the subject heading of employee retention. And again, I could continue to modify my results on the left-hand side. I could also put in nursing. Let me just show you. I just wanted to show you this, and I could have used it as a subject heading. I can also use my search history. My search history shows me each search I've conducted during today's session. So if I scroll down to the bottom of my screen, I will see S1, Search 1, my hospitals and food. I could also click back on that result list if I wanted to modify it in some way. But in this case, I have two searches I want to combine. I want to combine my employee retention subject heading and also my term of nurses. So I can click on this one and this one, and I want all the results from nurse, nurses, nursing, it's truncated, as well as the subject heading of employee retention. So I search it with an and I've got 295 results. And I'm just going to hide my search history by clicking on that link. So again, I can modify my results. I could use my employee retention, and let's look at nurses. Let's look at lab techs. Let's look at physical therapists. Let's look at social workers. And I could just use that same hospital term and it with all these different professions to come up with a list of those. Again, I can add things to my folder. Your folder allows you to collect items. You'll see that on the right-hand side. And you'll also see in the blue toolbar at the upper right a term that says folder with a piece of paper sort of sticking out, an icon. These are the results I've added during today's session. I could choose to select all of these or select one or two or whatever and print the results. Again, email the results, including the full text. Save them as a file or export those to a bibliographic management software. If I use a great deal of references, I might have one of those. And then I can go back. But I can also create what's known as a MyEBSCOhost account. This I can sign in right here. This will allow me to save my results for the future. If you already have an EBSCOhost account, this same account can be used. You can just, if you don't have one, you need to fill out this template. And then I'm going to go back and sign in because I do have an account. And you'll see why I call it my virtual file cabinet. I should also mention up here in the upper left corner where it says Ellen's folder, I can click on that question mark icon that provides me with help. I can scroll through these screens to understand how to use the custom folder or print them as well. And then as I scroll down on the left, you'll see my folders that I have from other searches I've done within the VA EBSCOhost databases. I can come back to my brain injuries and look at articles from another database. I could create a new search now on housing, a new folder, excuse me. And I could choose my articles that I wanted to move into that folder. And I can just go back to my result list. The nice part about signing into your folder is also if you have a result list such as this one and you say, yes, I want to keep number 2, it will also open up your folder for you. So I can just pop my content into that database, or into that folder, excuse me. So one other thing I want to show you here as well, you do have publications. This is something where you can also search within a publication or get back to a specific issue and volume. If I was interested in Harvard Business Review, I can click on this link or whatever journal title it is. And actually, I can go all the way back to 1922. It's all in full text. But if I was interested in a specific issue from 2015, it was the October issue, I can just pull that issue up and scroll through it and find the full text that I want. The other way to use that is also in publications. If I was interested, again, in Harvard Business Review, I could also make a collection of titles. So I'm going to do Harvard Business Review, add it. I also want modern healthcare. Somebody said I want to search these 2 journals. So I can do this. You will also note if there's a publisher-imposed embargo, which some journal titles have. Modern Healthcare happens to be a 3-day delay. It will also show you, and obviously there are some with much longer delays than that, but I'm just going to show you that. So I can search those. And that's my all the content. So what I would have to do here is I could go back to my search history and say I want to look for those, anything to do with nursing that comes out of one of my Harvard Business Review or my Journal of Modern Healthcare, and I could AND them together. So it allows you to create a file of journals if you want and search against those. I know sometimes when I was a librarian, people would ask, oh, I know it has to be in one of these journals. I only want to look at these journals. So this is a question about if you already have a saved search, can you go back and add limiters? Yes, you can. So let me just show you that. Let me see if I have a saved search up here. Yep, okay, let me just open that up. So this is an advanced search type of question that somebody may have a question about. So here, this is where you can do that. You can edit your saved search. You choose your search statement. You see this is your search history that you saved. On the right-hand side, you can click on Edit. And this is where you could come back and say, I just want full text and my date range or something like that. There aren't too many limits on there. I could have also, let me just do this. Which one do I want to do? If I scroll down here, I could also edit this, and I could AND it with something. I could change and anxiety, or I could change my field codes, whatever I wanted to do. That will then change your search strategy, and then I would just have to save it. So thank you for that question. And for those of you who haven't saved searches, don't worry about it, but you can save a search, which means that if you're in the middle of reviewing a result list and you've run out of time, you just click on your search history and click on Save Searches and name and describe it and pop it into your MyEBSCOhost account. You must have an account. Next week, you can come back, sign into your folder, pull up your search, retrieve it, and then you just must update it, refresh it to get up to the current, and it really doesn't take much. Then you could just click on the result list you want and move on. So one other thing I wanted to show you. There is a limit here called cover stories. This is odd. It's not something we see in medicine usually. But this is the kind of thing where if somebody said, I know that Time Magazine, Newsweek, somebody had a cover story on obesity. I'd like to read that story. So this is where you can come in here, and these are all the cover stories for these journal articles. So here's one from Time. So that's what I'm saying. It's somebody, because sometimes they remember it was the cover. So I just wanted to show you that. It's odd in case you wondered how people use that. is just one of those things somebody may ask you about. It was a cover story. I want to find, I don't know if it was Time or Newsweek. Any questions on Health Business Elite before I move to health policy? Okie doke, thank you. So I'm just going to click on Choose Databases to change my database. Unclick Health Business Elite. This is our Health Policy Reference Center. This again has 200 full text. So this is your content relating to health policy, healthcare access, quality, healthcare financing, etc. So it's another source to use. I can also show you, you can search both these together. I would just click here and click on OK, and you could do that as well. So let me just pop that one off and go back to Health Policy Reference Center. So again, you'll see that this is a fairly straightforward database. You do have some other aspects of ways you can search. If it was a corporate entity, you can search by ticker symbols and company entities and things like that. I also have some availability more limiters here, whether it's document type or pub type, etc. So there's a bit of a business angle to this as well, more so than Health Business Elite. So in this case, I was going to do a search on health equity. And you can start to see, and again, I do have my results still sorting by relevance. I also wanted to point out my folder that I signed into in Health Business Elite carries over right into my Health Policy Reference Center. So again, I get to see full text articles on my health equity. I do want to mention what Plum Metrics is about. Traditionally, we've all heard about the fact that if an article was cited by someone else, they've published an article and in their bibliography they cited a paper, it meant the paper that was cited was important. People are using it to verify, follow a theory, or something like that. In the world of social media, there are now other ways to share information, and that's what Plum Analytics does. I'm looking at number 2, this Plum Metrics, and you can see the different circles are different colors, and they identify different kinds of usage of this particular citation, number 2 on cooperate. So the abstract views and the views and the link outs are all from all of EBSCOhost, not just the VA, how many times it's been captured or saved within the EBSCOhost. But also they track social media. This is outside of EBSCO. This is Plum Analytics. So it's also been tweeted about 62 times, and it's also in a citation index. And you can learn more by clicking on See Details. So it does show you how information, this one is from February of earlier this year, it's been tweeted about 62 times. It hasn't been cited yet, but certainly it's got a lot of airtime in different media besides our traditional print. So I just wanted to point that out, that you will see those, and it can be interesting to see. This one's been tweeted once, for example. So it's just sort of interesting how a different measure for indicating the importance of an article. And again, this one just has tweets so far. It doesn't have anything else. But again, this was October 27th. It's already been tweeted 21 times. So it's just very interesting to see a different kind of looking at a different way of looking at usage. So anyway, I searched here on health equity. Again, I can limit to full text. I've shown you the date slider. And I will, while this is updating, I can also mention the fact you can also go retrospectively. You can go back. So just a reminder, you can choose the date range you want. And of course, I could go back out to my limiters and say what kind of, what I'm looking for. And there aren't too many choices, so. Again, it's not indexed the way we are used to in the world of clinical medicine and nursing, CINAHL or Medline or PubMed. But I do have my source types, once again, that I can select. Again, I could choose just magazines or trades. There are some reviews and some book chapters. And of course, I have subject heading terms as well. My publications, again, this starts to show you the breadth of the content within Health Policy Reference Center. Bioethics, global health, AIDS, and this is under health demography, a wide variety of content. And then I can continue down as well by publisher. There are some company, I think they're going to be mostly associations and more. I'm just going to click on new search to get up here. And then I was just going to type in veterans, very broad search here. But I did want to show you another way to start to understand what this database may have of value is to also start to look then at the subject headings terms and the terms that you might be looking at in relationship to the veterans. So here we have employee recruitment, insurance, national health insurance, Medicare, Medicare, politics, insurance company, confidence intervals, medical personnel, just sort of interest financing of research. So it's interesting the way you can also use those subject headings to help poke around and to determine what you're looking for or get an idea of the content, especially when you're learning a new database such as this. And I'm just going to click on new search because we do have publications as well. So this does allow us to search for different journals. So we have a Journal of Law, Medicine, and Ethics, for example, Journal of Law and Health. Again, if I click on this, I can come over here and find my most current issue as well, or look for whatever kind of issue I want. And of course, you could also search by journal title and using an author, words in the keywords, title, excuse me. There is a thesaurus. So again, I could use this for my subject headings. Again, I can click on my term. I can look to see if I want to explode this term to include all of my narrower terms. Frankly, I find it much more useful for sort of clicking off the types of narrower terms I want, so I'm not looking for them in the thesaurus itself. It starts to let me just choose what I might be looking for. Veterans housing or temporary housing or women's shelter. I could just play with this. Then I have to always remember to add those to my search box, and it will show me exactly what I've selected, and then I could search on those terms. So we don't have subheadings. We don't have major headings either. So it's very straightforward. There are some cited references. If you were trying to find how many times an author's publications has been cited, you can put in his or her name here as well. And then I can also go back to new search. And are there any questions on this database or a search you'd like me to try or something like that? And remember, you can use the chat feature at the top of your screen. While I'm just waiting, there's also, in all of our EBSCOhosts, to the right of the folder, there's also something called Preferences. When you create a My EBSCOhost account, you can load your preferences. You can change the language of your interface if you want. You can also choose the format of your result list. I happen to like the detailed with the full abstract, but maybe you like to just see a brief result. I can also choose how many results I like to see. So your site, your Department of Veterans Affairs has defined a common default, but you can override that if you prefer something different. So that's just a little helper tool in case there's something there that you prefer. Again, you can change your language of interface if you prefer. You will be searching your content in the same language, but you do get to change it. Then there's also online help here in the upper right corner. Let me just move this around. And you can see all of the different features about searching, the advanced search style that we've been using, your search history. If you wanted to use field codes such as author or company profiles, I forgot to show you those, and I'll go back and do that. Your result list, saving searches, printing email save. So let me just show you that. Oh, wrong database. Sorry. I've been doing several of these today, so I just forgot. That was a different database. So I did want to mention as well, if you come out to the support site, you can also search for a database here to learn more, but under Promote Your Resources, you can find posters, flyers. If I browse all my promotional materials here, I can go into my specific database, in this case, Health Business Elite, and there's a flyer I could utilize to promote my services or this particular database. And again, I saw something there under Health Policy Reference Center as well. It's probably a flyer, yes. So this is also your EBSCO Help, which you can also learn more about my EBSCO host account, all those features, searching, printing, emailing, etc. And last chance, if there are any questions or comments or something you'd like me to review. I think we're going to end a little early.
Well, Ellen, this is Nancy, and I just want to thank you for, again, another excellent training session. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And that will conclude today's session. Thank you so much. And when you sign off, there'll be a short online evaluation form. If you could take a few seconds to fill that out, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, and goodbye.